The sky above Vargos 9 was dark and cold. Filled with silent stars and icy clouds. Snowstorms moved across the wastelands like hungry beasts. The land below was empty, just ice, broken rocks, and the deep silence of death. But that silence was broken by a scream. Not human. Not machine. A small alien ship flew out of control, smoke coming from its tail. It twisted through the clouds, alarms blinking red inside, and then crash. The ship hit the frozen ground with a thunderous roar, sliding across the ice. Its metal body broke apart, sparks flying, pieces scattered from far away. A human patrol drone saw the crash. It zoomed closer, scanning for survivors. It found something strange. A faint heat signal. 2 life forms, barely alive, curled in the broken half of the ship. One was a small alien child, her skin pale blue, her eyes wide with fear. She was crying softly, hugging a tall, thin body beside her. That body was her mother, a creature with silver skin. Long fingers and glowing scars. The mother was shaking badly. Her eyes half closed, breath weak. Her arms were around the child, trying to protect her. The drone sent a message to the colony's rescue unit. Unknown alien species detected. Ship downed to survivors. Caution advised. At the human colony outpost. Alarms sounded. A group of soldiers and engineers quickly geared up. One of them, Engineer Aaron, looked at the screen and felt a strange pull in his chest. He had seen many alien crashes before. Pirates, slavers, rebels. But this felt different. That child's eyes on the screen. Those tears. Something inside him whispered, "They're not here to fight." Within 20 minutes. The rescue crew arrived at the crash site. The wind howled as they stepped out of their hovercrafts, snow biting their faces. The wreckage lay silent, smoke rising from its broken engine. One soldier raised his weapon. "We go in, secure, and scan." But before anyone moved, the alien mother stood up suddenly, holding her child close. Her body shook badly, but her eyes were sharp. Filled with fear and strength, she growled a warning. Her mouth speaking words no human understood. Her legs wobbled, and then she fell. Dropping to her knees in the snow, still, her arms wrapped tightly around her daughter. The child cried louder. Her voice echoing in the cold, she looked at the humans, her eyes begging. She reached out one hand, shaking, whispering something no one could understand. And then, she ran toward them. The soldiers panicked, raising their weapons, but before they could fire, Aaron stepped forward, shouting, "Wait, don't shoot." He moved ahead slowly, arms raised. The child stopped a few steps away, breathing hard. Her small body was shaking from the cold and fear. Aaron knelt down, took off his thermal gloves, and showed his empty hands. "I won't hurt you," he said gently. The child stared at him, confused, scared, but curious, behind her. Her mother tried to crawl, but her strength was fading fast. Her head dropped into the snow, eyes blinking slowly. Aaron looked back at his team. "She's freezing. They both are. We need to help them now." The commander replied coldly, "We don't know if they're hostile or infected or illegal. We can't just bring them back. They might be spies or bait." But Aaron didn't wait for orders. He took off his coat and wrapped it around the child. Then he walked past the soldiers and picked up the mother's body gently. She was light, too light, and her skin was ice cold. The soldiers didn't move. Unsure what to do, Aaron looked at them and said firmly, "If you're afraid, stay here. I'll take them back alone." The child held his hand tightly as they walked through the snow. Her eyes didn't leave her mother's pale face. She whispered something again. Over and over, it sounded like, "Ma, Ma." Back at the colony med bay, the doctors refused to touch the aliens. "Not registered," they said. No data on species, no legal protection. But Aaron didn't care. He laid the mother on a warm table. Wrapped her in blankets, the child sat beside her, holding her hand. Crying softly, that night, Aaron stayed by their side. He didn't sleep, didn't eat, just watched as the mother fought for life. He didn't know who they were or where they came from. But in the child's tears, he saw something pure, something worth saving, even if the whole world said no. The cold night passed slowly on Vargos 9. Snow covered the broken ship outside. Inside the colony medbay, all lights were low. Most people stayed away. They didn't want to be near the aliens. Only Aaron stayed, sitting beside the warm table. The alien mother was still unconscious. Her face was pale, her breathing weak. But her hands no longer shook as much. The little alien girl sat close to her mother. She didn't speak, but her eyes stayed open all night. She held her mother's hand tightly, and every few minutes she looked at Aaron with quiet eyes. Aaron sat on a chair nearby, not moving too much. He didn't want to scare her. He just stayed. And waited. In the morning, the girl finally stood up. She walked slowly to Aaron's side, holding a small piece of cloth. Her tiny hand offered it to him, a soft gesture of thanks. Aaron smiled and took it gently. "You're brave," he said. The girl didn't reply, but she tilted her head. Listening to his voice, "Your mom is going to be okay." Aaron added. He pointed to her mother, who was now breathing easier. The girl looked back and nodded once. Then, to his surprise, she sat down next to him, still silent, but no longer afraid. Later that day, the colony leaders called Aaron in. The commander was not pleased. "You broke the rules," he said. "You brought in unknown life forms without clearance." Aaron didn't look away. She was dying. Sir, and so was her child. They needed help. They might be dangerous, the commander snapped. They might be part of a larger threat. They're not, Aaron said. I saw it in the child's eyes. She's not here to hurt anyone. The commander sighed. Fine, but they stay in the lower medical wing. No roaming. No contact. And Aaron, this is your problem now. If anything goes wrong, it's on you. Aaron nodded. I understand, back in the medbay. Aaron returned to the girl. She was drawing something on a tablet, shapes and symbols. When she saw him, she smiled a little. Just for a second, he sat beside her. Can you show me your name? He asked. She tapped the tablet and drew 3 curved symbols. Then she tapped her chest. Zariel, she whispered, almost too soft to hear. Zariel, Aaron repeated, smiling. That's beautiful. Then he pointed to himself. I'm Aaron, he said. Zariel tilted her head, then said slowly, AR. On her voice was light, like wind in the trees. It was the first word she spoke clearly in his language. Aaron felt something in his heart shift. Later that evening, Zariel's mother finally opened her eyes. Her gaze was weak and confused. She looked around the medbay, saw Zariel, and gasped. The child rushed to her side, hugging her tightly. The mother held her close, her eyes full of tears. Then, she saw Aaron. Her body tensed, her arm moving protectively in front of her daughter. Her eyes narrowed, afraid and ready to fight. Aaron raised both hands and stepped back. It's okay. He said softly, I helped you. Zariel turned to her mother and gently touched her cheek. Then she pointed to Aaron. Aaron, she whispered. The mother looked at her daughter, and then at Aaron again. Something in her expression changed. Just a little. She didn't smile, but she lowered her hand. She didn't speak. But she didn't growl either. Over the next few days, things slowly improved. Zariel learned new words. Water, sleep, cold, safe. She loved touching tools in Aaron's workshop. She liked to watch him work, fixing wires, building heaters, adjusting drones. The mother, still weak, stayed silent. She watched Aaron carefully. Always alert, but each day, she seemed to trust him a little more. One night, as Aaron was repairing a broken tablet, he heard soft footsteps behind him. It was Zariel holding something shiny in her hands. She gave him a small piece of metal shaped like a moon. She pointed to it, then to him, then smiled. "It means safe," she said slowly. "It from—" Aaron looked toward the mother. She was lying down, eyes half closed. But she nodded slightly, her way of saying thank you. In that moment, Aaron knew he wasn't just helping strangers anymore. He was building trust, one small moment at a time. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. Zariel sat by her mother's bedside, her small fingers tracing shapes on the surface of a cracked tablet. She wasn't just drawing anymore. She was trying to talk. Circles, arrows, stick figures, stars, hands, and tears. Again and again, she drew them. Aaron watched from his desk nearby, gently soldering wires together. But his eyes kept drifting back to the girl. She was trying hard to speak his language, but there were still no real words. Only pictures and sounds, only her soft, sad eyes. Her mother, still weak, slept most of the day. Sometimes she woke up and whispered something in her own language, a language filled with soft hisses and long echoes. But no translator could understand it. One morning, as Aaron entered with breakfast cubes and hot liquid, Zariel looked up and said, "Ma, cold?" She pointed to her mother's arms. Her voice trembled, like she was holding back tears. Aaron rushed over, checked the alien woman's temperature. Her skin was colder than it should be. Even with the heaters on, she was breathing, but barely. He grabbed a scanner. Red lights flashed. Her blood was infected, slowly shutting down her body. Aaron cursed under his breath. The colony medbay had refused to treat her species too risky. To unknown, even now, the doctors refused to help. She's not human. "We don't know what's in her body," they said. "She could carry a biovirus. She could be illegal." But Aaron looked at Zariel. She was crying again, quietly, with her hand resting on her mother's chest. Tears ran down her pale blue cheeks and landed on her mother's skin. She looked up at Aaron, her voice barely above a whisper. "Help. Please, Aaron." That broke something in him. He couldn't sit and watch her cry anymore. He turned away, made a decision, and whispered to himself, "Then I'll break the rules." That night, Aaron snuck into the back of the science wing. He entered a restricted lab using an old code he once used as an apprentice. Inside were hundreds of vials, experimental medicine, gene stabilizers, nanotech injections. Most were untested on alien species, but Aaron grabbed what he could, anything that helped. Fight infection. If caught, he could lose his job. Maybe worse, but none of that mattered now. He rushed back to the medbay, carefully injected a small dose into the mother's arm. Zariel watched silently, clutching her small hands together. Praying in her own way, the scanner beeped once, twice, then showed a slow rise in temperature. Her pulse grew stronger, her breathing deeper. Zariel gasped and hugged her mother, whispering fast words in her own tongue. Aaron sat down and let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. The next morning, something new happened. Zariel drew another picture. This time, a human hand holding an alien hand. Below it, she drew a small heart, and next to that, a teardrop. Then she looked at Aaron and pointed at herself, then to her mother, then to him. Finally, she pointed to the picture again and said, "Us." Same. Aaron felt his chest tighten. He nodded slowly. "Yes. US same." Zariel smiled. A real smile this time, not afraid, not unsure, just pure, honest joy. But before the warmth could last, a sharp alarm echoed through the hallway. The colony security system flashed a red warning. Unauthorized use of restricted medical tools. Violation code 442A. Within minutes, Aaron's door slammed open. The commander and 2 guards entered, weapons ready. "What did you do, Aaron?" The commander asked coldly. "You broke into restricted labs, and for what?" "That thing." Aaron stood between them and the sleeping mother. "She was dying," he said. "She's stable now. I gave her a chance. She's not human." The commander shouted, "We're not even sure she's the child's real mother." Zariel, hiding behind Aaron, began crying again. She pulled on his shirt and drew quickly on the tablet. A tall figure giving a baby food, covering her with blankets, holding her hand, fighting monsters. The message was clear. Even without words, she raised me. She protected me. She is my mother. The guards hesitated. Even the commander paused. Seeing the child's drawings, her tears, there was silence. A long silence. Finally, Aaron spoke again, voice steady. "You don't have to understand her or like her. But I saw more humanity in that woman's eyes than I've seen in some people here. She's not our enemy, and the child, she's just a little girl. Who doesn't want to cry alone anymore?" The commander looked away. "Fine. But if anything goes wrong, you'll be the one who pays." They left without saying another word. That night, Zariel sat beside her mother again. But this time, she didn't cry. She looked at Aaron with new eyes, not just trust, but hope. And in her drawings, the teardrops slowly stopped. In their place were stars. It was quiet inside the lower med bay. Too quiet. Aaron sat with Zariel, helping her read a few basic human words on a glowing tablet. She repeated after him, slowly, carefully, light. Warm home. Her mother rested on the bed, her eyes half closed, but watching. She still didn't speak human words, but her eyes said enough. She was healing, but she didn't feel safe. Aaron had just finished adjusting the room's heater when a sharp buzz echoed through the building. It wasn't from inside the colony. It came from outside. Warning. Perimeter breach, South Gate, Zone 3. Unknown signals detected. He stood up quickly. That was near the crash site. Something, or someone, was back. Suddenly, the medbay lights flickered. Zariel jumped and hugged her tablet, scared. Her mother sat up fully for the first time. Her body tense, her glowing scars brightening. Her mouth moved, whispering a word again and again. A word Aaron didn't understand. "What is it?" Aaron asked. Zariel slowly pointed to her mother and then drew a picture on her tablet. A triangle with teeth, chasing a small circle, a hunter and prey. She tapped it twice and said, "Trembling, they come. Take her back." Aaron moved, quickly locking the medbay doors and activating internal shields. He grabbed a pulse wrench, not a real weapon, but strong enough to shock someone. "Stay here," he said firmly. Zariel grabbed his sleeve, her eyes wide with fear. But he gently pushed her hand away. "I'll protect you both." He stepped into the hall, heart pounding down the corridor. Near the storage bay, he saw movement. 3 tall figures in silver-black armor moved through the shadows. Their helmets had red eyes, and their boots made no sound. Alien bounty hunters, Aaron guessed. Maybe the same ones from the crash. They didn't come to rescue, they came to reclaim. One of them spoke in a harsh tongue. Another replied with a low growl. They scanned the hall and began moving toward the medbay. Aaron whispered to his wristband. "Security breach. Armed intruders. Need help now." No answer. The colony had likely shut off this wing. He was alone. Back in the medbay, Zariel's mother stood up on weak legs. Her body swayed, but she didn't fall. Zariel held her tightly, helping her stand. Then the alien woman placed her hand on Zariel's head, a soft goodbye. She turned toward the door and whispered something sharp. Zariel cried out and grabbed her hand, not wanting her to go, but the woman just shook her head. She was ready to fight. Aaron met the intruders at the hallway's end. He didn't wait. He triggered a flash blast from his pulse wrench. Boom. A wave of light blinded the first hunter. The second one swung a weapon, a sharp energy blade. Aaron ducked, the blade cutting into the wall behind him. He rolled under a bench and struck the third hunter's leg, sending sparks, but he couldn't fight them all. They were too fast, too trained. They pushed him aside and ran past, straight toward the medbay. Aaron screamed, "Nitrogen monoxide," and chased after them. Just as the lead hunter opened the medbay door, Zariel's mother attacked. She didn't wait. Her body, though weak, moved with power and rage. She tackled the hunter to the ground, claws out, teeth bared. The two others entered behind, shouting something in their language. The room turned into chaos. Flashing lights, growls, slashes, blood. Aaron dove in, grabbed a heater coil, and slammed it into one attacker's face. Sparks flew, and the hunter fell back, screaming. Zariel hid under the bed, shaking, her hands over her ears. She watched as her mother fought with everything she had, bleeding, limping, burning, but she didn't stop. The last hunter stabbed her in the side. She fell to one knee. Then, Aaron ran forward and shoved the attacker with all his strength. The hunter flew backward into a wall and didn't move again. It was over, but the price was high. Zariel crawled out and screamed. Her mother lay on the floor, bleeding badly. Aaron dropped to his knees, holding the alien woman's hand. "I'm here. You're safe now. Please stay with us." The woman looked at Zariel and smiled weakly. She touched her daughter's face and whispered a word filled with love, even if no human knew what it meant. Zariel cried harder, hugging her tightly. Then, her mother's hand slipped from Aaron's grip and her eyes slowly closed. Silence filled the room again, a silence full of sorrow, but also full of fire. The fire of a mother who gave everything for her child. The fire of a human who stood against fear, and the fire inside a small alien girl. A fire that would never fade. The medbay was quiet again, but this time, it felt empty. The alien mother was gone. Her body had been gently wrapped and placed in the colony's cold chamber. No one from the colony came to honor her. Only Aaron and Zariel stood by her side. Zariel didn't cry out loud anymore, but she hadn't spoken a word since that night. She sat on the floor, holding the small metal moon her mother once gave Aaron. Her eyes were dry, but full of pain. Aaron sat beside her. He had bruises on his face, a cut on his arm, and pain in his ribs, but what hurt most was what he couldn't fix. "I'm sorry, kid," he whispered. "I tried, but I couldn't save her." Zariel didn't answer. She only leaned her head on his arm. Slowly and gently, that was enough. Later that day, Aaron returned to the lab. He had one goal: to understand what she truly was. The hunters called her a thief, a traitor, and tried to take her away or kill her. Why? He pulled out a blood sample he had taken from the mother before she died. He placed it into a scanner and watched the data load. Lines of red, blue, and green danced across the screen. But one reading stopped him cold. Her blood was part organic, and part machine nanocells moved inside it like tiny soldiers. Programmed, cold, efficient. She was not born in a natural way. She was made. Aaron stared at the report, whispering she wasn't just an alien. She was a weapon, but the second sample from Zariel told a different story. Her blood was natural, clean, but enhanced. She was fast learning, fast healing, and her brain scans showed strange growth. Not machine-made, not built, but born. And one more thing shocked him. Their DNA did not match. Aaron sat back, confused. Zariel was not the woman's biological child. They were not even from the same species. But then, why did the woman protect her? Why did she die for her? Zariel entered the lab quietly, still holding the metal moon. She saw the screen, the blood charts, and the old photos. She walked over to the tablet and drew a new picture. A tall figure, half metal, standing in a lab. A small child in a cage, crying. Then the tall figure broke the cage and carried the child away. And last, a picture of the tall figure hugging the child under the stars. Aaron stared at the drawings. It was a story without words, but one more powerful than any he had ever heard. The woman wasn't Zariel's real mother, but she found her, rescued her, and chose to become her mother. She was made for war, but gave her life for love. Aaron knelt down and hugged Zariel tightly. "You're not alone," he said. "I don't care where you came from. You're not a weapon, not a science project, not a mistake. You're just a little girl who deserves a real life." Zariel nodded slowly. Her eyes still held sadness, but also a small flicker of light, hope. Later, Aaron went to the colony council. He told them everything, the truth about the woman, the child, the attack. They didn't want to hear it. She was created by enemies. One said, "That child could be dangerous," said another. Aaron slammed his hand on the table. "She is more human than some of you. She's kind, she's smart, she's been through hell. And she's still standing. She is not a threat. She is a miracle." They didn't arrest him, but they gave him a warning. "You can keep the girl, but if anything happens, it's on you." Aaron didn't care. He walked out, holding Zariel's hand. "I guess it's just us now," he said with a smile. Zariel finally looked up and whispered her first word in days. Home. That night, in his small cabin, Aaron gave her his bed. He sat on the floor, fixing a broken drone with tools and wires. Zariel lay quietly, hugging the metal moon her mother left behind. The stars outside blinked in silence. She closed her eyes and saw her mother's face, fierce, protective, loving. She whispered in her alien language a soft goodbye, then turned her head and looked at Aaron, who had fallen asleep beside the glowing drone. A soft smile touched her lips. She had lost one parent, but perhaps she had found another. The days passed quietly after the attack. Zariel stayed close to Aaron, always watching, always listening. She learned quickly, faster than any human child he had ever seen. She fixed a small light by herself, connected wires, and even gave names to his tools. Still, at night, she cried silently. She missed her mother. Aaron didn't try to stop the tears. He just sat beside her and stayed close. He wasn't trying to replace her mother. He was just trying to be there one evening. A strange signal arrived at the colony's sky tower. It was short, cold, and full of codes. The system couldn't break it, but Zariel saw it and froze. She pointed at the screen and whispered, "They're coming again." Aaron looked at the commander, who frowned. "Who is coming?" he asked. Zariel didn't answer in words. She just drew a picture. 3 large ships, shaped like daggers, flying above a burning planet below them. A small child and a silver woman running. The child screaming, the woman protecting. It was the past. And now it was the future again. The commander shook his head. "We can't fight a full alien squadron. They want her," Aaron said. "Then we hide her." The commander replied, "No," Aaron said, voice hard. "We protect her and we fight." The colony prepared for the worst. Aaron set up traps around the outer gates. Energy bombs, stun wires, smoke drones. Zariel helped him quietly, checking circuits and setting timers. Her small hands moved fast, precise, almost like she had done this before. As the night came, the sky turned red. 3 dark shapes appeared above the clouds. No warning, no words. Just shadows, and then a roar from the sky. The ships had arrived. They landed just outside the colony's shield line. Strange metal beasts opened from the ship's black-armored warriors with glowing blades. They didn't ask questions. They just marched forward inside the lab tower. Zariel stood near the window. She held the moon-shaped pendant close to her chest. Aaron checked the defense monitors and turned to her. "You still have that spark your mother gave you?" Zariel nodded. "Then let's not waste it." The first wave of intruders triggered the smoke drones. Bright clouds exploded across the outer wall. Laser tripwires zapped the lead warriors, dropping them like dolls. but there were too many. More kept coming, faster, stronger. One blast hit the shield gate. The colony's defense line began to fail. Aaron looked around, heart racing. They couldn't hold the line forever. We need to draw them away, he said. Zariel pointed to the underground tunnels, a path no outsider knew. Aaron grabbed her hand. Let's go. We lead them away from the people. They ran through the tunnels, leaving signals to make it look like the child was escaping. And the plan worked. 3 full squads of hunters turned their direction and followed them. Zariel and Aaron reached an old mining zone, a place full of broken machines, fire vents, and echoing metal halls. They hid behind a storage unit, breathing hard. The hunters arrived within minutes. One shouted something in their own language. Zariel tensed, recognizing the voice, the leader, the one who had hurt her mother. Aaron turned to her. We end it here, he said. She looked scared, but nodded. She pulled out the pendant and handed it to him. He looked confused. It's not just metal, she whispered. It's a beacon. And a bomb as the hunters spread out, searching the halls. Aaron climbed to the high pipes and dropped a tool to distract them. Zariel, small and silent, crawled through the vents, placing the pendant near a fuel cell. The hunters gathered. Below, one of them grabbed Aaron, throwing him to the floor. Zariel screamed. That scream echoed through the metal hall. Just like it had during the crash, the leader turned and ran toward her. But before he reached her, Aaron kicked the fuel pipe. It sent a spark flying toward the pendant. Boom. A massive shockwave blasted through the zone. Fire, light, smoke, and silence. Later, Aaron woke up on the snow outside the tunnel. His arm was burned, his head hurt. He looked around, heart sinking. Zariel. He heard a soft cough. She was under some metal panels, alive but bruised. He pulled her out and held her close. You did it. We made it, he whispered. Zariel looked at him and said softly, she'd be proud. That night, the sky above the colony was peaceful. No ships, no warnings, no more shadows, just stars. And 2 survivors sitting on a rooftop, a child. And a man, not by blood, but by choice, fight, and love. The snow had melted across the edge of the colony. The sun on Vargos 9 was finally shining again. The skies were clear, and for the first time in many weeks, there was peace. Zariel stood on the colony roof, looking up at the stars. Her eyes were quiet, deep, full of stories. She wore a simple jacket Aaron had patched together. Too big, but warm in one hand. She held her mother's moon-shaped pendant in the other, a small tool she used to fix drones. 2 things, 2 worlds, one from the past, one from the future. Aaron walked up beside her, carrying 2 hot cups. Careful, he said with a small smile. It's still too hot. Zariel took the cup and nodded. I like hot, she whispered. It was one of the many new words she had learned. She was speaking more now, not just with pictures, but real words, real thoughts, inside the colony. Things had changed. At first, people feared her. They whispered behind her back, is she safe? Is she watching? U.S. But slowly, people saw something else. They saw her help repair the water pumps. They saw her laugh with 2 younger human children. They saw her run across the snowfields, chasing solar butterflies. She was not dangerous. She was alive. The council, once cold and silent, had changed their view. Aaron had fought for her. Now, others began to see what he saw, not a weapon. Not a risk, but a child from 2 worlds. Zariel's learning speed shocked the scientists. She could read full sentences, write code, and map circuits in just weeks. One doctor asked Aaron, how is this possible? Aaron smiled and replied, she was loved. That's why. One day, Zariel found an old holoscreen recording. It was from her mother's crashed ship. Only short pieces survived, but one scene showed her mother sitting in a dark corner, holding a baby Zariel. The woman's eyes were fierce, but her voice was gentle. She said something in her language. Zariel didn't know all the words, but she understood the meaning. She turned to Aaron and asked, "Can I say it out loud?" "Of course," he said. So she whispered, "I was not made to love, but I chose it anyway." That night, Aaron and Zariel sat by a heater in the repair shop. He was fixing a drone leg. She was sketching something. He looked over and asked, "What are you drawing?" She held it up, a small flying ship with stars above it. Inside, there were 2 seats, one for her and one for him. Below, she had written the word, "Together." Aaron chuckled softly. "You want to fly away someday?" Zariel nodded. "To find others like me. Or like her, but you'll come with me." Aaron didn't hesitate, always. Months passed. Zariel grew taller, stronger, more confident. People no longer whispered. They greeted her. Children no longer stared. They played with her. And she smiled more, not because she forgot her pain, but because she learned to carry it with pride. She was no longer just an alien child. She was not just her mother's legacy. She was not just Aaron's rescued friend. She was all of it, and more. One morning, the colony school invited her to speak. She stood on a small platform, nervous but calm. She looked at the children, the workers, the guards, and the leaders. She held up her pendant. "This belonged to someone who saved me," she said slowly. "She was not my real mother, but she loved me like one. She fought to protect me, not because she had to, but because she chose to." Then she looked at Aaron in the crowd, and then he did the same. "I am not from this world," she said. "I have no birth papers, no homeland, no species flag. But I have 2 things. I have memory and I have choice. I choose kindness, like she did. I choose courage, like he did. I choose to be both alien and human." The crowd was silent. Then a single clap, then another. And soon the whole colony was cheering. That night, Zariel and Aaron stood on the roof again. The stars above were brighter than ever. She whispered softly, "I still miss her." Aaron placed a hand on her shoulder. "I know." "Me too." She looked at the stars and said, "I think she's watching." And in that moment, something beautiful happened. One star in the sky shined brighter than the rest. Zariel smiled. She heard us from a crash in the wastelands, to a home filled with light, from a silent cry, to a voice that spoke for 2 worlds. Zariel was not just saved, she became something greater. Not just an alien child, not just a survivor. She was a bridge, a spark, a choice. The girl with 2 worlds.